5 a.m. I want to be the hardest working person in the room at all times. I'm going to be the first one to show up and the last one to leave. And those are definitely things that I think a lot of other people...
Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chelsea if you're new here. If you're not new, thanks for coming back. And yes, my name is still Chelsea. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at I am CCsuarez is my handle across all social media. And also if you would like to watch any other commentary videos, go ahead and click right up there. There's a whole lot of them. Now I know what you might be thinking. Girl, Rachel Hollis is so last week. But the thing is no, it's not. No, it's not. There's something deeper, multiple deeper things that we need to address here. And this latest thing is really just the tip of the iceberg. So before we get into the latest example of why Rachel Hollis is really just the worst, we need to understand who she is, where she came from, and really why she's famous in general. And I think that'll really help us get it all together. Also, if you are a Rachel Hollis stan, and if you are going to leave a rude comment, please make it a good one so that I can have it featured in my reading hate comments video. I would really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so where did she start? Where did this little blonde white girl come from, right? Now, Rachel was born and raised in Weed Patch, California. Oh yes, that's a real place. Her father was a Pentecostal preacher, and apparently he had a very, very, very short temper. And she herself has even said that her parents' marriage was abysmal and just horrible. When she was 14 years old, her brother Ryan fatally shot himself. And if that wasn't traumatic enough, Rachel was the one who actually found his body. So that's horrible. I cannot imagine going through something like that. Now, Rachel even says in her Girl Wash Your Face book that from then on, because she was a freshman in high school when that happened, from then on she started taking a lot more classes and wanted to graduate early so that she could just get out of there. And that's completely understandable. I get that. She also said in that same book, amid the anguish and fear and confusion, I recognized the great truth. If I wanted a better life than the one that I'd been born into, it was up to me to create it. And at 17, Hollis set out to Los Angeles to create that new life. She says that she had the dream of becoming an actress and marrying Matt Damon. She has a chapter in her book called Marrying Matt Damon. Plot twist, she didn't. So instead of becoming an actress, she got a job at Miramax, and that is where she met her husband, now ex-husband, but her husband Dave, in 2002. And in her book, she also writes, and she has been quoted as saying, after she met Dave, she really struck out on her own, paving her own way, being an event planner to the stars. That sounds like quite the rag to riches story, right? Very impressive. She did all that. It's pretty inspirational. Sounds like she worked really hard for it. Well, after she moved to LA, she did get that job at Miramax. And that's actually where she met Dave, because he was at that time working at Disney as the director of new business development. A quick glance at his LinkedIn page, and I will show you, really just shows how he climbed that magical corporate ladder at Disney pretty quickly. He was promoted to Senior Vice President of International Theatrical Distribution by 2010. That's very, very, very impressive. Even the position that he held when he met her was also a very, very, very good position, and he was making a lot of money in that position as well. Rachel Hollis can say all she wants that not only anything she's done is because of hard work, but specifically that her party planning business was successful because of hard work. And I'm not saying that she doesn't have a great work ethic. It does sound like she does. Sounds like she works a lot. However, constantly leaving out the fact that you landed a majority of your successful, good paying, and celebrity clients by tapping into your husband's professional network is honestly just misleading and gross. Now, in 2008, she began her blog, which is the Chic Site blog. And then 2008 to 2014, she was working on 3 self-published books and I believe a cookbook too. Now you might be thinking, I didn't even know she wrote any books before the Girl Wash Your Face book and then the other ones. The ones that she self-published previously weren't actually self-help books. They were fiction. But the funny thing is that Rachel even says, she said in conferences and in interviews as well, she has said multiple times like, oh, well, y'all really didn't like those. Or she said certain things that really diminished the success of those books. But when you actually look at the numbers for a self-published book, those books actually didn't do bad at all. Now, again, I know what you're thinking. I'm in there. How did she go from blogging, party planning, self-published author to keynote speaking self-help guru? Was it years of self-help and self-development that she preaches in her books and hard work? No, it was luck, which I'm going to probably go on a tangent later about. But it was a viral moment. In 2015, Rachel posted a picture to her Instagram page of her in a 2-piece bathing suit, not edited, showing off her natural body post children, and that post went viral. And the caption read, "I have stretch marks and I wear a bikini. I have a belly that's permanently flabby from carrying 3 giant babies, and I wear a bikini. They aren't scars, ladies, they're stripes, and you've earned them." Like I said, that post went viral. So as you can imagine, her blog was obviously getting a lot more attention now. Her Instagram was getting more attention now. Really back in 2015 and 2016, those are really the prime time for Instagram growth and having like a blog. Those are really, that's prime time right there. That's prime time Instagram, okay? But from there, that's when she started working on the first book. So in December of 2017, she posted a video called "The Video Every Woman Should Watch." And it was basically just an ad for her book, because it said at the end, like, it's basically said like coming soon, and it like showed the book. If you watch it, I remember watching it and like halfway through, I was like, what is she even saying? Like, what is she saying? And don't get me wrong, and I don't want it to come off like I'm a self-help, hater, right? I mean, kind of am. But I also do have a playlist of videos on YouTube I think it's titled like videos that inspire me. And, there's Casey Neistat on there, a few that he's made. There's a few by like, I think the Perkins or Desi Perkins and her husband. And there's one like Jaclyn Hill has on there. And there's a few other ones. There's like commencement speeches, but just those things that kind of like get me like recentered, kind of, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying self-help is all bullshit, but these type of people, the people who take advantage of it, they are bullshit. So Girl Wash Your Face came out in 2018. It sold 880,000 copies, and it stayed on the New York Times bestseller list for so long. Now, a few other people have said it. Actually, Savvy writes books. Love Savvy so much. Everyone's favorite gay aunt from the 80s. She's the best. Subscribe to her channel. I'll have a link down below. She's amazing. She's one of my favorite commentary channels. Now, she even mentioned it in one of her videos. She was like, I have a conspiracy theory or whatever about, the New York Times bestseller list. I think you can pay to be put on there, because there's some things on there that I'm like, how and why? I have so many questions. But this book was very, very, very popular. Very popular. And me being in sales, a lot of people in inside sales and in sales in general will read these types of books, the You Are a Badass books, and Girl Stop Apologizing, and Girl Wash Your Face, and just these books that kind of get you a little bit hyped. However, ew, don't do it. In 2019, she released her second book called Girl Stop Apologizing, which also was a New York Times bestseller. So due to all that success, Dave actually left his very well-paying, super easy apparently, job at Disney to come be the CEO of Hollis Company. And that was actually Dave's one stipulation, is that she had to step down as CEO so that he could be CEO, which also is just like weird. It seems very, I don't know, like misogynistic, I guess. And she even said in an interview that someone had asked her like, oh, well, you really just want to do like creative things though. Like you don't want to do these other aspects of like what CEO does. And it's like, well, yeah, but also It's very questionable to me, and I don't like it. I don't like that happened. They also did a podcast together and started doing conferences together, but we're gonna get more into them in a bit because it's a lot. The best way that I can explain Rachel Hollis's speaking events and the conferences and her books in general, really just her in general, is self-help one-liners and cult-like toxic positivity.
The first truth that I want you to understand is this. What got you here will not get you there. What got you here in your business will not get you to the next spot. What got you to where you are will not get you to where you want to go. What got you here will not get you there. Comparison is the death of joy. Not only is comparison the death of joy, comparison is the death of consistency compounds. Say it to me. Consistency compounds. Meaning, you keep doing the same thing. Oh, we try something. Okay, we're trying something new. And I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to ask 10 more people. And I'm going to ask 10 more people. And now I've asked 100. And now I'm going to keep going. I swear to you, it compounds. The smartest person in the room. I'm not the most business savvy. I'm not the best writer. I'm not the best speaker. Here's the difference between me and so many other people. I will outwork you. I will outwork you. I will learn all the things that I need to know, and then I will take immediate action. If you're taking notes right now, write it down. Immediate action. If you take nothing else out of this time to get familiar with my career, let me give you this real quick. I have a high school diploma. I have a high school diploma, and I've built a multi-million-dollar media business. You know, this is not, you don't have to clap the whole time, because I'm going to say a lot of stuff, and then it just makes me sound douchey, so just hold for a minute. My books are in the top of the New York Times list, one of them for over a year. I've never taken a single writing class in my life. Girl Wash Your Face has sold 3 million copies. Girl Stop Apologizing sold 1.5 million this year alone. I've never taken a writing class. I have one of the #1 podcasts in business. I figured out how to do a podcast on a YouTube video. Every single thing that I know how to do, seriously, listen to me. Every single thing that I know how to do, I found on the internet for free. Every single, then you have to ask yourself the follow-up question, which is, what am I willing to give up? Am I willing to give up all these things? Am I willing to pay the cost? Because maybe you look at that list and it says, well, to have the life you say you want, you're gonna have to start getting up at 5 a.m. What if it's gonna take everyone in your family judging you? Who has someone who is actively judging them for being in this room right now? Here's my favorite follow-up.
Rachel's whole brand seems to be centered around one thing, and that's you are in control of your own life. For instance, let me take out my red flag bookmark. Let me go ahead and read the opening of this book to you. And we'll dive into this book in a minute too. Introduction. Hey girl, hey. This is the big opening letter to my book. The part where I tell you all the things I'm hoping for as you read it. This is the moment where I outline my intentions, and if you're already game to read on, this is where I fire you up more about what to anticipate. This is also the important letter for someone standing in the bookstore right now, trying to decide if she should buy this book or like The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. And the words she's reading right now will decide that for her. I mean, that feels like a lot of pressure for one little letter, but here we go. This book is about a bunch of hurtful lies and one important truth. The truth, you and only you are ultimately responsible for who you become and how happy you are. That's the takeaway. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to tell you 100 crazy stories that are funny or weird or embarrassing or sad or crazy, but each of them is reaching for that same Pinterest-worthy truth. Your life is up to you. So for this first book, and she might have gone through the same publisher for the other books as well, but I'm just speaking on this one for right now because it's the only one I have experience with. For this first one, she went through a Christian publisher, which of course is one of the main reasons why this book is so prevalent in the Christian community. And in turn, why it is so popular. Well, one of the reasons why it's so popular in the multi-level marketing community. When it comes to the multi-level marketing community, and yes, if you're new, I have way too many videos about that, literally like 90. So click up there. It'll be up there. You're welcome. So like I said, when it comes to the multi-level marketing community, toxic positivity, self-help, the cult-like community, all of that is just a means to manipulate people and to keep them in whatever multi-level marketing company that we're discussing. So think about it. If you're drilling into someone that they are in control of their own life, then realistically, if they fail at something, say a multi-level marketing company, like 90% of people do, no matter what multi-level marketing company you're talking about, according to the FTC, the average profit is 0, and about 90% of people make no profit. Okay? Glad we got that covered. But if you're drilling into someone that they're in control of everything in their life, then really them failing at an MLM or failing at any type of venture that they're going for, failing is their fault. It's not that whatever venture they're trying to be successful at is literally built for you to fail. It's their fault. And that's with all self-help, and self-development is really what they call it in multi-level marketing companies in that community, self-development instead of self-help. And again, that's when we'll see people say like, oh, well, you're just not working hard enough, or, well, you need to work on yourself more, or you just don't want it bad enough. Again, the self-development is a way for them to turn it, your failure, at something that is literally statistically proven for you to fail, for them to turn it back on you and say it's your fault. And again, that's a way for them to manipulate you to keep you in so that they will continue to make money off of you. That's their only motive. Rachel Hollis has actually been the keynote speaker at multiple, not just one, not just two, many, like 5 multi-level marketing company conferences, including but not limited to Lavelle Thrive, Beachbody, and LuLaRoe. And at these conferences, she says the same relatable one-liners, things that, boost you up, and a lot of times are ripoffs or slightly worded differently from like famous quotes. She's known for doing that. Again, we'll get into that in a minute. Or she'll tell you this super relatable story about how she peed her pants one time, or how her boobs look gross after having kids, even though she had already had a boob job at that point. And sometimes she'll even wrap it up by telling people that if someone, even in their family, doesn't support them for being in an MLM, that they should cut them out, that they shouldn't be in their circle because they don't support them. Now, as you can imagine, being a keynote speaker at these events pays a lot of money. So Rachel Hollis not only has made a lot of money off of speaking at these events, but also from her book sales. She's made a lot of money off of the Christian community, the like military wives community or military spouse community, and then also the multi-level marketing community. However, in her 3rd book, I Didn't See That Coming, which, girl, we all fucking saw it coming. You're a sociopath and a narcissist. She said, and I'm paraphrasing, don't join an MLM, that's dumb. So that's interesting. Let's just say that the MLM community was not very happy about that. Now, let's discuss their marriage. Now, Rachel and Dave Hollis began dating in 2002. And it sounded extremely unhealthy. Now, let me preface this by saying my husband and I have been together for actually 11 years total. Our 11-year dating anniversary just passed last week. We both forgot. And we've been married for 6 years. We definitely bicker. We argue. We don't fight a lot, but we probably get in like one like fight. Like we both yelling, maybe like once a year. Yeah, I'd say it's down to like once a year now. And that's pretty impressive, right? But we know how to deal with each other and handle each other. And I'd say overall, we have a pretty healthy, stable relationship. I would hide bodies for that man. I would. And he will protect me to the death, basically. Just wanted to preface that because I know there's probably going to be people who are like, how dare you judge someone's marriage? There's a reason why we need to go into this. So shut your mouth. Let's go to the tab where I have, it's all hard work, body image, life after baby, brother, just like you, depression but she's happy, procrastination. Oh, husband weird shit. There we go. Now I have a sticky note on this that says, this entire chapter is so fucking gross and unhealthy. So that's good. The lie. Loving him is enough for me. I fell in love with him the first time I saw him. Does that sound dramatic? Probably. I'm not even sure I was aware of it at the time, but the scene plays out so clearly in my memory. Our memory has a way of romanticizing things. I went down to the lobby to get my boss's 11 o'clock appointment. There was only one man standing there. His back was to me, hands down deep in his pockets. He had a beat-up leather messenger bag slung over his shoulder. I noticed the bag first. I remember thinking, it was so cool that this guy wore business clothes but carried a worn-in leather bag instead of a briefcase. "Excuse me," I said across the lobby. "Are you here to meet Kevin?" In my mind, he turns around in slow motion. The memory illuminates when I first see his face. He smiles at me and reaches out a hand to shake mine. The moment stretches into infinity and then snaps back together like elastic. And then it speeds back up into real time. Something just happened. I distinctively remember thinking I was equal parts excited and terrified. He was older, totally out of my league. Still, I caught myself thinking, but maybe. That maybe was what did it. My curiosity wouldn't go away. It was enough to startle me, to make me wish I was wearing something cuter than a black maxi skirt and an ill-fitting matching t-shirt. You're like an executive assistant and you're wearing that? What are you doing? Get it together, girlfriend. Ever heard of a pencil skirt? Hello. That day wasn't the first time I'd spoken to him. He'd called to talk to my boss pretty often. It was the first time I'd spoken to him in person, though. I had no idea what he looked like, more specifically, that he was so handsome. And what had been a business relationship quickly turned into something more flirtatious. He goes on to say that their relationship progressed over email and staring at each other during business functions. So cute. And then she also goes on to say that she used her sister's ID as her fake ID so that she could actually drink at events. Also, he was 8 years older than her. And then for their first date, he showed up like pretty casual, and then she dressed up a lot. We were seated at a table. We ordered a bottle of wine, and he said, "I hope you're not one of those girls who's afraid to eat on a date." It annoyed me. Whoever or whatever kind of girl I was hadn't really been determined yet. I didn't like the comparison to anyone else. I didn't like the reminder that this wasn't his first date, too. Keep in mind, this was her very, very first date. She grew up very sheltered. It was basically the first guy she's ever been out with. I responded by eating more than half of the pizza we were sharing. He talked about himself for 2 straight hours. I didn't mind it. I was fascinated. Ew. Ew. After one meal of pizza and cheap red wine, we were officially dating, or at least I thought we were. I didn't know there were rules. I didn't know there was even a game. Soon after the first date, he asked me on another. Here's the doozy. It came up on our next date. I was too young. I was too inexperienced in every way, and he didn't want to be the guy to hurt me. So they went on 3 dates or 3 or 4 dates. And then he was like, "Oh, you're a literal child, so no thanks." And then basically she pursued him, and he was like using her as a booty call for over a year, basically. And then they were like actually dating, and he moved away. And then he came back just to break up with her because it was like too much and he wanted a clean break. So basically, he treated her like shit. And then after a bunch of back and forth, she called him and was like, "Hey, I don't deserve this. I deserve to be treated better. I'm done." And he was like, "What? No." And she was like, "No, I deserve better." And then she woke up to someone like pounding on her door. It was him. And he was like, "I love you." And then, ugh. And then they actually started like for real dating. Now, I'm not trying to say that people who have a like dramatic start can't be happy and have a happy relationship later on in life, and that they're not great people. For instance, Tony and I were in college and we were a little bit dramatic at times. We actually went on a break, very Ross and Rachel, let me tell you, and then got back together and were like perfect from then on out. We realized, I don't want to be with anyone else, so let's be together. And we did. And it was perfect from then on out. Not perfect, obviously, but way stronger from then on out. And I love that man more every single day, except for when I woke up this morning because he cheated on me in my dream last night. Still mad at him about that. But keep in mind that this man is significantly older than her. So that's important to remember too. You can't just blame that on being like, "Oh my God, well, like they're young and dumb." No. So as we can see in Rachel's own words, when they started dating, she was really young. She was in a new city. And even by her own account, she was young, immature, inexperienced, and poor. And Dave was older, established, and making a lot of money at Disney and doing very well for himself. Now, this is one of my favorite quotes, and I'm surprised I haven't said it on my channel before. When you look at someone through rose-colored glasses, all of the red flags just look like flags. And that means when you're so infatuated with someone or something, you have them up on this pedestal, you'll make excuses for their shitty behavior and ignore the red flags and the glaring signs that it's just not a good situation for you to be in. Now, May 29th of 2004, they got married. Rachel was 21 and he was 28. They renewed their vows every 5 years, which, and this is just my opinion, seems weird, like real weird. Now, also in my opinion, Dave seems like an asshole and really not a supportive husband at all. Like deep down, like on surface level, sure, he might seem like it, but deep down, no. And it would be just an injustice to talk about him relating to all of this without talking about the 3% bracelet. In an article on Rachel's own website, she actually explains the deeper meaning behind all of her bracelets that she wears. And some of them actually have like real cute meanings. For instance, there's the ones with the numbers on them, and those are the word counts to her like first 2 books, I believe. And then she even says herself, 3%. This was the first gold bracelet I ever bought myself. It was years ago and I was up for a big job, the kind of ridiculous mega dream job I had no business getting. One night at dinner, I told Dave, babe, I think they might actually hire me. Now, my husband is honestly the most supportive person I know. No, he's not. But he's also very pragmatic and constantly trying to help me temper my enthusiasm so that I won't be disappointed. He looked at me and said, sweetheart, you're so incredible, but the chances of you getting this are 1,000,000 to 1. I was totally shocked. How could it be 1,000,000 to 1? I demanded. I've already made it through 3 rounds. Okay, Dave said. Maybe not 1,000,000 to 1, but like 3%. You have a 3% chance. A week later, when they called and told me that I was hired, I had the bracelet made. I wear it as a reminder that even the person who believes in me most still doesn't believe in me as much as I believe in myself. Now, that in itself, just like that last sentence, seems so sad. The entire situation, or the entire story in general, seems so sad. But this part's worse. So Dave came out with a book called Get Out of Your Own Way, which, yes, there is a self-help book already titled that. But with these 2 people, what do we expect when it comes to plagiarism? Now, it's very telling that Dave's version of the 3% story differs from hers a lot. Not only that, but this is just a beautiful depiction of how shitty these people are. And this is from a Washington Post article, and it's just chef's kiss. Now it says 2/3 of the way into his self-help bestseller. Like, how's it a bestseller? Who's reading this? Get Out of Your Own Way. Dave Hollis tells a story about how he became a better husband. His wife, Rachel Hollis, the massively successful self-help guru of the moment, told him that she was pursuing a lucrative deal for her company. Dave scoffed. There's a 3% chance it'll happen, he told her. Months later, Rachel presented him with, quote, a gift you got me, end quote. A bracelet with a charm reading 3% stamped on it. She'd landed the deal. And now, just because this is absolutely beautiful, let's keep going. And it says, now that's a masterclass in effective passive aggression. And thank God for that, Dave writes, strangely triumphant. Passive aggression can be effective, no doubt, but only in Hollisville will you find somebody who will tell you it's the path to a healthy marriage. And yet, a whole lot of people want to be in Hollisville. Rachel's 2 self-help books, Girl Wash Your Face, 2018, and Girl Stop Apologizing, 2019, have sold millions of copies, serving as the backbone of a media and whatever empire. And we're going to finish reading that in a moment, but I think it's extremely, extremely telling that he basically turned it around as saying, oh, well, I meant to push you in that way, to be like, oh, you're not going to do it. Now, there's a difference between challenging someone and trying to, keep them grounded, and then just being a dick. And after watching way too many interviews and way too much content with this guy in it, I'm getting major dick vibes, and not in a good way. For instance, I told my husband some very, very, very exciting news the other day of a potential project that could be massive for not only me, but the entire anti-MLM movement. And his response was, that's awesome. We'll see what happens. And I even said, I just looked at him and I said, way to keep me grounded. Because realistically, yeah, I was getting a little bit too excited, and there have been way too many times where things have just fallen through, and that can always happen, especially in this type of industry. It seems like he's the type of person to turn something around and take credit for it, and that's not cute. Don't do that. It's honestly disgusting that people like look up to this couple for like marriage advice, which now I hope they don't because they're divorced. But the article continues and it says, but the Hollis way is to attract a crowd, not a community. The main path to glory in Hollisville is the steroidal self-reliance rooted in extreme honesty about your shortcomings. Honesty is a virtue, of course, but for all the Hollises talk about extreme candor, their vulnerability is almost always a function of image management. Success, Dave writes, demands being conscious at all times of how your actions and your hoped for reception align to deliver the personal brand you aspire to be. Vulnerability is meaningful only to the extent that it sells. One senses that if vulnerability stopped selling for the Hollises, they'd soon pivot to selling something else. Success in Hollisville isn't becoming a better person who's more engaged with the world. It's craven careerism. It's admiration and money. It's running your flaws through a sparkly Instagram filter that's probably plagiarized. It's thinking you're improving when spite dangles off of your wife's wrist. That is absolutely amazing. And I obviously have the entire article linked down below. But like I said, chef's kiss. But right, isn't that weird? Like having that specific 3% on there. She can say all day that it's a reminder that she believes in herself and that she overcame obstacles. But it's also a callback to your husband being a dick. So tell me more about how supportive he is. And now for one of my favorite things. In December of 2017, Rachel and Dave posted a video to YouTube that was giving us 5 tips, 5 beautiful tips for having a stronger marriage or improving your marriage. And it's basically just the best. Read about an enneagrams, however you say it, compatibility, and have a conversation about it. Date night, have great sex. Not only have great sex, but like really commit to it. Hire a cleaning person. And then number 5, go back to the beginning of the relationship and treat each other how you did way back then. That last one on surface level seems okay, but it also seems like forced. I don't know. It just when you go further than surface level with any of this stuff, it's like, oh God, are you okay? Blink twice. But clearly all those things worked out for them because they got divorced. Now, I do think it's important to understand each other. And I am a big believer in the 5 love languages. And the thing is, though, is that you don't even have to read the book. Literally just Google it and read what they are. And there's a test you can take, but usually just by reading them, you know what's most important to you and also how you give love as well. So for instance, I know that Tony's love languages, how he receives love, is acts of service and quality time. Mine are, and you can have more than 2, my 3 are words of affirmation, quality time, and physical touch. So basically, spend time with me, touch my butt, and tell me I'm pretty. Now, for the first year of mine and Tony's relationship, or even right after that, after the butterflies were off, I didn't realize, we didn't even know about that, right? So when he's, washing my car for me and detailing it and like doing all this stuff for me and showing me that he loves me with acts of service, I'm like, that's great. Come cuddle with me. I don't care about that. So then he thought I was being ungrateful and I thought he just didn't want to hang out with me. See how that works? Now, obviously, we get it. Which after this video, we're going to have a little pizza party and we're going to watch a documentary together. Quality time. Now in July of 2018, a little quick rundown here. In July of 2018, Rise Together launched. And that was the podcast with both of them, which was basically just the second phase of her podcast with him on it as well. And that was July of 2018. And then in September of 2018, they actually started the conference. And that was their Rise Together conference. And it was for couples. And if a couple could spend $1,800, then they could go and like basically hang out with them. And I'm not joking. I'm going to show you the itinerary, but it was a glorified meet and greet. That's it. Now I have read multiple reviews of them, like from that. And basically it was Rachel Hollis telling people to have a box of sex toys under your bed. Now I don't disagree with that. Get spicy. However, if a couple is spending this much money and actually going to a retreat, which also that amount didn't cover anything else other than just like hanging out with them and like, I guess like the food and drinks and stuff that they provided. You still had to get there and stay there. But obviously that, just like the sex aspect of it, just the physical aspect of it, that's not going to help someone who's missing an emotional connection or, having deeper issues in their marriage. But again, like I said, basically a glorified meet and greet that unfortunately people were willing to pay. Now, just 2 years later, in summer of 2020, so last summer, they announced that they're getting divorced and that they had been toying with the idea of getting divorced for a few years. So while they're having this podcast, telling people how to have a successful marriage, making videos about it, and then also profiting off of a very overpriced meet and greet, telling people how to be successful in their marriage, they're not successful in their marriage. There's even through all of that and literally like a month leading up to them posting that they're getting divorced, they were posting about like how happy they are and just how great they're doing in quarantine and like spending time together and still having like date nights and just having this just putting up this veil of everything's perfect and we're relatable. Please buy more things from us. So that's gross. Don't do that. Okay, now back to Rachel Hollis's shenanigans, now that you have a whole picture. So like I said before, not only does Rachel Hollis push the all you need is confidence and hard work narrative, but she also has been called out for plagiarizing multiple times. And it's not only on Instagram, but it's also during her public speaking events as well. There have been several instances of her claiming and rebranding titles from self-help and motivational best-selling books, as well as quotes from very influential historical figures. And of course, it seems like she always blames her team for that. For instance, a while ago, she posted "Still I Rise" on social media. And once she got called out for not crediting Maya Angelou, she posted this apology. "This morning I found out that my social media team posted a graphic on Instagram yesterday that said "Still I Rise." That is obviously an immortal line from a Maya Angelou poem, only no credit was given to her. I immediately deleted the post, but I want to make sure and publicly apologize. While I didn't create or post the graphic, I'm the leader of a team that did, and so I accept full responsibility for their actions. Not her actions, their actions. I cannot imagine how deeply hurtful it is to the African American community to see the words of your heroes used without credit. This has happened to you far too often, and I literally hate that anything produced by my company added to your pain. I heard once that the only real apology was one where you don't make an excuse, so I won't. I am deeply sorry. I understand that this post without credit is not a little thing to you. This is death by 1,000 cuts. This is the millionth time of incident like this you've experienced. This is not okay. I apologize sincerely. We will do better." Now, we're gonna critique everything, obviously, but I think it's very interesting that she said, "I heard once that the only real apology was one where you don't make an excuse." Yet she started this off by making an excuse. And as someone who does run a company and like it is on your social media, why are you not approving those things? If you're such a workaholic, if you have such bad OCD about this, if you're such a perfectionist, you are the head of the company. If they are going to post something to your social media, you have to give the sign off for that. And also, it is very ironic that she's not addressing the previous times that she has clearly plagiarized people. She's the worst. Okay, now let's get back to present day and the question at hand. Why is Rachel Hollis really just the worst? I'm sure you've seen it by now. It's all over social media. It's my favorite. But Rachel was doing a live stream and she had mentioned her cleaning lady, or that her cleaning lady was at her house. And one person commented and said that she was privileged, and then followed that up by saying that she was unrelatable. So that's gross, obviously.
Okay, yesterday I was doing a live stream and I mentioned that there's a sweet woman who comes to my house twice a week and cleans. She's my house cleaner. She cleans the toilets. Someone commented and said, "You are privileged AF." And I was like, you're right. I'm super freaking privileged, but also I worked my ass off to have the money to have someone come twice a week and clean my toilets. And I told her that. And then she said, "Well, you're unrelatable." What is it about me that made you think I want to be relatable? No, sis, Literally everything I do in my life is to live a life that most people can't relate to. Most people won't work this hard. Most people won't get up at 4 a.m. Most people won't fail publicly again and again just to reach the top of the mountain. Literally every woman I admire in history was unrelatable. If my life is relatable to most people, I'm doing it wrong.
But let's address a few things. And by a few things, I mean everything. Rachel says that she doesn't want to be relatable. Sis, what about me makes you think that I want to be relatable? However, this is what her entire career has been built on. The viral post that grew her social media and her blog and actually pushed, made her known to so many other people, only went viral because it was relatable. Her entire persona, her entire brand screams, I'm just like you. I'm relatable. And this really just baffled me. I mean, it was fascinating. It was just like a school bus on fire speeding down the highway. I could not look away. But I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt because when I saw this happening, I was like, this can't be real. This isn't happening. She can't be this dumb. Also, just the way she looks in that video is terrifying. Gross. Don't do that. It gave me MLM distributor vibes. It gave me Monate girl sending me creepy voice notes vibes because I put them in a video. So I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt that, you know what, maybe I was wrong. Maybe her entire brand isn't built on this. So I read her first book, her first successful book, Girl Wash Your Face, cover to cover. And actually I decided to highlight the parts of the book where I believed that she was trying to relate to the reader or come off as relatable in general. I went through not one, not two, 3 highlighters. I also bookmarked parts that seemed unsavory to me. Now Rachel's asking, what about her makes us think that she wants to be relatable? But sis, it's not only your first bestseller, the entire book cover to cover, but it's also your entire career. Now let's also touch on, I wake up at 4 a.m., I work hard, I'm not privileged, which is a lot, I know, but let's just break that down. Many self-help guru types, hustle influencers will push the mantra that hard work is all you need to get you to where you want to be, to make all your dreams come true. But in reality, this is just the line that they will repeat over and over and over again to fill you with hope so that hopefully you will buy more of their books and their seminars and buy more of their bullshit, to be honest. And in reality, in those different seminars and those different books, they're saying the same thing, just worded differently. And it's not all about hard work. Yes, hard work is definitely important, but so are network connections. So is timing. So is time management. So is luck and knowing your market. And if I'm going to be honest, most of all, luck. Luck is important. Waking up at 4 a.m. has nothing to do with someone's level of success. And anyone who tells you that is delusional. Getting enough sleep so that you can function and also time management are much more important than waking up early. I got a lot done today and I got out of bed, woke up at 8, got out of bed at 9:30, 9:45. And it's 8:30 now. So got a lot done today. Now I know I've already said it and I'm going to say it 17 more times in this video, but Rachel Hollis herself would not have gotten anywhere in her career. All she did was just work hard and that's it. Just hard work. That would have done nothing for her. It's safe to say that if she didn't marry her husband, then she wouldn't have the massive amounts of success that she does now. And there's nothing wrong with admitting, and I'm going to say it multiple times again in this video, but there's nothing wrong with admitting that you took advantage of your network. But there is something wrong building a career off of telling people that it's just hard work when in fact it isn't. Admitting to and owning her privilege and really just taking accountability in general seems like something that Rachel Hollis is not capable of at all. And what baffles me is that even in her book, Girl Wash Your Face, she pokes fun at people who did take advantage of certain things that happened to them in life and their professional networks. So I began to ask myself questions. What led to this massive platform and all of these fans? How did I get book deals and TV appearances? Why was I the one standing in front of the classroom answering questions? Why not somebody else? I think the obvious place to start is my family connections. So after graduating from Yale and then later Harvard Business School. I began working in my family's oil business. I later went on to be part owner of the Texas Rangers before becoming governor of the great state. And then, most everyone knows that my father was a former president. So when I decided to run for president myself, wait, no, that's not me. That's George W. Bush. No, as a reminder, I grew up in a place called Weed Patch. That wasn't a cute name for locals. That's literally the moniker on any map that wants to include it. The point is, family connections haven't been my secret to success. Seriously though, after I moved to Los Angeles, I started to gain some pretty influential friends in the entertainment industry. Paris Hilton and I became incredibly close. Later, I went on to date Ray J. Remember him? It really shot me into celebrity status. I used the attention from that relationship to get my own show on E, and then made millions with many kind of products. Then when Kanye asked me to be his wife, well, wait, shoot, that's Kim Kardashian. The secret to my success isn't celebrity status. All jokes aside, my success has a lot to do with waking up early, being the hardest working person in the room, asking for help, being able to fail over and over again, and working constantly to improve myself and my brand. But plenty of people do all of these things and don't experience the kind of success I have. You want to know what it is? Why I believe I'm the one writing this book right now when people who've tried to do exactly the same thing I have done haven't succeeded? It's simple, actually. It's not about talent, skill, money, connections. It's because when they went after their dreams and came up against a roadblock, they experienced rejection, or when someone or something told them no, they listened. I am successful because I refuse to take no for an answer. I am successful because I have never once believed my dreams were someone else's to manage. That's the incredible part about your dreams. No one gets to tell you how big they can be. It's not about talent, skill, money, or connections. So she's saying that her success has nothing to do with the fact that she married a very influential, rich, well-connected person. Okay, it's because you wake up early and because you work hard and you keep going and you have confidence and you believe in yourself and you poop rainbows and vomit butterflies. Now on to the whole "she cleans my toilets" scandal. And really just this whole aspect of this dumpster fire. Referring to someone who works for a cleaning service or who is your cleaning lady, man, whoever, your cleaning individual, as a toilet cleaner or the person who cleans your toilets is very degrading. You're purposely picking the grossest aspect of the house. You might as well have just said, "she cleans my shit stains. She cleans my poo splatters." And you might disagree with me, but hear me out. And this is something that most people don't know about me. One of my first jobs after, nannying and working in retail, and God, I've had way too many jobs, and, working at a, daycare center. One of my first jobs was working for a cleaning company. I did clean toilets and I got a lot of contracts. We did retail spaces, commercial spaces, and then also residential too. And if anyone would have referred to me as the person who cleans their toilets, I would have been very offended and I would have felt very low. Not only that, and also this leads us into our next aspect of this about privilege, but not only that aspect where I have worked for a cleaning company before, but also growing up, I will admit, back then and now, I do live a pretty privileged life, not only as a attractive white woman, but I also grew up in a upper class family. We did have a cleaning lady for over 20 years. Her name is Gloria. I love her to death. She's on our Christmas card list. She is amazing. I respect the shit out of her. She's extremely hardworking. She's been invited to all of mine and my siblings' weddings. She's amazing. And I would never, ever refer to her as someone who cleaned our toilets. It's extremely degrading and disgusting. Don't do that. Now, what I think happened, I think Rachel saw the word privileged, got a little spooked. Because unfortunately, a lot of times, some people will see the word privileged and associate it with white privilege, or what they will think sometimes is, oh, well, you have this, but you don't deserve it. Kind of like spoiled. Or even with, if someone says like, hey, check your white privilege, someone might associate it with like, well, I'm not racist. And it's like, that's not what I'm talking about. So I think that she saw that and, like I said, got spooked and tried to be more casual about what the person does. She tried to make it seem like a joke, and obviously that backfired on her. Thing is though, it's okay to admit your privilege, like I just did. The word privilege itself means a special right, advantage, or immunity granted or available only to a particular group or person. Now, a great example of that is when I was in high school. Really even before high school, but when I was in high school, my freshman year, I was struggling with a lot: eating disorder, anxiety, depression, a bit of drug use, hanging out with not the best people, lying a lot. Did I already say eating disorder? I think I already said that. There are other people who were dealing with the same things, and their parents weren't able to get them the help that my parents were able to get me. So yes, and that I am privileged because my parents were able to save my life by sending me away and getting me the help that I needed. But of course, like I said, there are people who were kind of in the same situation or even worse off. And then by the time I came home, they had overdosed because they didn't get the help that they needed. So that's actually a really good example of privilege, because unfortunately, good therapy and good treatment is expensive AF. But that doesn't mean you don't deserve it, or, it's you're the worst or you're spoiled. It doesn't mean that. It just, life isn't the same for everyone. Not everyone is brought up the same. Not everyone has the same opportunities presented to themselves. That's privilege. Just admit it and accept it and be able to use your privilege for good. Use your platform for good. Also, that's not what she does though. So since privilege can be a scary word, and it seems like that's how it is for Rachel, let's take out that word and use the word advantage instead. So Rachel likes to omit the advantages that she has had in her career to make it seem like hard work is what got her there. When in reality, yes, it seems like she has a good work ethic. Of course, she's worked hard. You couldn't be a lazy person and have all this happen for you. But she wouldn't have gotten this far without marrying a wealthy Disney executive. But the title, Girl, Marry Rich, probably wouldn't sell as many copies. Now, Rachel's caption of this post was probably even worse than the video itself, even though she looked extra serial killery in the video with those big ass eyes. But it's because she listed influential women in history and said that they were also unrelatable AF. And then she just tied it in a perfect bow and said, Happy Women's History Month. The only thing worse than not being able to own your privilege would probably be a complete lack of accountability and self-awareness. But don't worry, she checks that box too. So the apology for the rant, and by apology, I mean the first apology, was gross, real gross. So on April 4th, she made her first apology, and it just reeked of gaslighting people and accusing them of misinterpreting what she's saying, playing the victim, clearly, and blame shifting, really just throwing her team under the bus. I don't know why anyone works for this woman at this point. And she deleted it, of course, but I got you, don't worry, it's right here. So she said, I'm sure it would make my brand more likable and certainly more relatable if I act like I achieve all of these things through hard work and organization. But that's bullshit. But you do that. You don't have to have a clean house or help with your kids or a business with 25 employees. But if you see those things in my life and wonder how they got there, I want you to know that it's a group effort. The whole village, in fact. Okay, that's not the issue, lady. To believe that because I mentioned them, I am comparing myself to them is ludicrous. The people in her caption. Do I aspire to be as brave and as fierce? To live life on my own terms and hopefully inspire other women to do the same? Hell yes. But I cannot now or ever compare myself to those women, and I don't want to. I don't want to try to be the next fill in the blank. I'd like to just try and be the first me. That was where things started. But because I haven't learned, I didn't want to respond to these things on Friday when I heard that people were upset. I listened to my team instead of my gut. I listened when they told me not to respond, to let it blow over. I listened when they said they would monitor the situation, which meant monitor comments. I woke up this morning to find that certain comments had been muted on my post, including some by Rachel Cargill, I'm butchering her name, and Levy. butchering that too, so sorry. They are amazing women from what I have heard from other creators who are both women I admire so much. And if they want to tell me and the world I fucked up with something, we all should listen. So, as we just saw, she added that she waited so long to respond because her team told her to. Again, blaming everything on your team when it's your fault. You posted the video in the first place. You're the one who made those comments. So don't blame your team about anything when they're just having to put out the fire that you started in a dumpster. It's a dumpster fire. And then also she said that she should have just trusted her gut. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that your gut and your entire unpleasant persona and personality in general was what got you into this mess. But don't worry, because she deleted that one and uploaded a new apology. So let's read it. I'm not going to do this perfectly, but I'm going to speak from the heart. Great. I'm so deeply sorry for the things I said in my recent post and the hurt I have caused in the past few days. Honestly, she could have just stopped right there. I know I've caused tremendous pain. Actually, no, this is way better. I know I've caused tremendous pain in mentioning prominent women, including several women of color, whose struggles and achievements I can't possibly understand. By talking about my own success, I diminish the struggles and hard work of many people who work tirelessly every day. I disregarded the people whose hard work doesn't afford them financial security, often due to inherent racism and biased systems. I did not allow a space for people to voice their anger, hurt, and disappointment, which caused even more pain. I acknowledge my privilege and the advantage I have as a white woman, no matter how I grew up. There are many things I would like to say to reiterate just how sorry I am, but the important thing for me to do now, something I should have done already, is honestly be quiet and listen. I know I have disappointed so many people, myself included. I take full accountability. I am so sorry. I do not believe any part of me, any part of my body, not even my anus, believes that she actually wrote that. Someone else had to have, because she lacks the self-awareness. And no, she's probably going to come out with another book after this and be like, I'm privileged. See, she acknowledges her privilege with literally having a cleaning lady, with being wealthy. But how much you want to bet she will never acknowledge her privilege that she has had in her career, because then that would completely extinguish all of her books, all of her seminars, her career in general, basically, because it's all about hard work and confidence and girl wash your face and don't apologize. The self-help gurus are not going to give you the key to success. They aren't going to let you in on the secret of how they became successful. They're just going to give you vague one-liners that anyone can apply to whatever they are currently going through, because that's what sells. And I think we really need to consider who we are making famous. I know I've said this multiple times. I know a lot of channels have said this multiple times. We need to be aware of who we are making famous, because it's us, the audience, the viewer, who has the control over that. And we need to understand what their motives are. I'll leave you with this. Whenever it comes to the hustle influencers, the self-help gurus, ask yourself this one question. Did they become successful by putting into action what they are selling me on and what they are telling me to do? The answer will usually always and unsurprisingly be no. All right, friends, that is it for today's video. My eyeballs, you can probably tell how tired I look. I'm so tired right now, but I hope you enjoyed today's video. I enjoyed researching way too much and writing the script and everything for this video. But as always, if you're new here, please subscribe. Introduce yourself down below. I like to aggressively welcome you to my channel. If you would like for me to do a bit of a deep dive or an expose on any other public figures, definitely let me know. I would love to do that, specifically more like scammy people in general, basically. As always, remember how valuable you are. You are amazing. What you're going through right now, if it's something not super positive, has you feel in some type of way, just remember that it's temporary, okay? What you're feeling right now, what you're going through, it's temporary. You're gonna get through it. Personally, that always helps me, especially with anxiety, to remember like, hey, I'm not always feeling like this. Always helps me get through it. And always remember to stay spicy, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.